Alright, well this is the last tutorial in this series, and I'm calling it Playing with Others. Now you might be playing alone when you play, but in this style, you're often going to be playing with other musicians. So how do you know what to change when you're part of an ensemble? Basically, you just need to ask this question: how much do I need to play? And the answer is almost always going to be play less. Play less. We could actually probably all stand to be reminded of this frequently, especially when you're practicing alone. You really get used to creating a full sound, providing everything, and sparse playing sounds incomplete to your ears. But then when you get together with other musicians, sometimes you don't realize that the combination of all the sounds is muddy and distracting and overpowering. So what does play less mean? It means two things: texture and rhythm. Now, by texture, I mean at any instant, how many notes are you playing? Now, for this, it's helpful to think about placing instruments in their registers. Now, a guitar's open strings are here. So, a guitarist normally is going to be playing, kind of a standard E major chord. It's going to be here. Maybe an open G chord might be here. So he's going to be playing sort of in this general register. He might be playing up a little higher, but that's, typically, at least in the basic position for guitar, he's going to be sitting right around here. Now, so that's all well and good, but singers are going to be in the same register. Creation sings the Father's song. So when you have men and women, now granted they're going to go a little higher, but generally this register here is going to be in danger of being saturated. So how do you avoid saturating the middle register if there's a guitar here and the singers and you come in playing here as well? First, you want to look for opportunities to omit the third of the chord. We've talked about this before in regards to playing open voicings and sus2 chords. Now, our guitarists tend to play voicings that are pretty clean. So, for example, our guitarist, when he has a C chord, he actually literally plays only these notes. He doesn't play a full chord. So it is a nice kind of open sound, but usually the standard guitar voicings that are taught in method books are really thick and full. I mean, the standard G chord is going to be that. Not only do you have one third, but you have two of them. Now that's already ugly, but when you add to that piano playing that's really thick and full, right away the texture just becomes so muddy. So you need to be aware of how much your guitar player is playing and how he's voicing his chords. Second, you want to look for open or available registers. So it's really helpful to think of grouping instruments, again, in registers. If the guitar sits here, the voices maybe sit kind of here, your bass is down here, your melody instrument might be up kind of higher. It's really helpful to think, where is a register really strongly represented? So if you have a strong bass player and a strong acoustic guitar player, maybe you could take the upper register. You can even go up up into a higher register that's not used. So the piano really shines, really sparkles in the upper register, and the piano can fill a unique role there. So in general, when you're not sure what else to do and you're playing with other people, just go up. Now low notes, even in this, they're not going to be totally off limits. You just want to use them very sparingly. Third, you want to practice omitting the bass note. This really takes some getting used to, but if you have a strong bass player, you can leave off the bass entirely. Try it. Here's an example of a chord progression. First, I'm going to play the progression with the bass note. So let me just kind of set this up for you. Okay, so now I'm going to play that again, but I'm going to leave out the bass note in my playing. So it might sound something like this. Now, that might sound kind of empty, but I'm going to play the same kind of idea. I'm going to not play the exact same voicings, and this time I'm going to add to the track, I'll add a bass guitar, and you can hear what happens. So it might sound like this. So you can see that, you know, it's actually really, potentially really effective to remove yourself from the bass. It's okay to double it, but if you double it too much, you know, you're really encroaching on his register. And if you have a bass player, try it. It does take a lot of getting used to, I admit. I often forget and I stay down in that bass register, but I need to move my hands away and try other voicings to omit the bass. Fourth, here's the fourth kind of idea. You want to know when you can take the melody and when to keep it and when to keep away from it. If you have another strong melody instrument like a lead guitar or a violin, you know, don't create an upper melody line that's going to get tangled up with it. Okay, so those are some guidelines about thinning out the texture. But we also really want to think from a rhythmic standpoint. This is also something when you think about a pianist playing in a way that's very busy or obnoxious. Usually it's not so much even a matter of textures, although that can be the case, that their chords are too muddy, but sometimes they're just playing too often. There's too many events taking place. So as an example, I want to demonstrate by playing, I'm going to play this chord progression here that's shown above. This is a chord progression for This Is My Father's World. So, this is my Father's world, and to my listening ears, all nature sings and around me rings the music of the spheres. Okay, so that's not really necessarily super creative or inventive, but I was providing some rhythmic flow to it. But now, if I had an acoustic guitar playing, I might play a lot simpler rhythms. And this is not going to be a long or a complicated tutorial, but I think it really can powerfully drive home the effect of how little you actually need to play. So here's if I had an acoustic guitar playing, it might sound like this. This is my Father's world, and to my listening ears, all nature sings and round me is the music of the spheres. See what a difference that is? Because the rhythm was covered by the guitar, I had a lot more freedom to take a melodic role, and I really could have just played whole notes. So let's try it like that. Let's try it just with whole notes, and I'm going to really resist the urge to do too much. This is my Father's world, and to my listening, so do a half note. All nature sings and round me rings the music of the spheres. So that's not lacking at all. Again, if there's a lot of rhythmic presence, don't feel that you need to create that. You want to stay exactly on the beat, you want to get in the pocket, you want to listen to what they're doing, but you can take on a lot different role. Rather than going, this is my Father's world, and to my... If you do that, it's going to sound awful. You're not going to be able to line up your playing with the strum pattern, and even if you could, then one of you would be superfluous. It's too thick, it's too busy. So when you're playing with other people, the general principle is just this: play less. So I know these are really limited examples, but the overall principle is one of listening to other players. Listen, carefully find your place in the group, don't overplay, and be careful to consider how busy your rhythms and your textures should be.